Everyone has a bright light inside of them that deserves to be seen by the world. That's why it's time to shine the light on the extraordinary who are accomplishing phenomenal things. This is the Shine Out Loud Show with Lillian Ogbogo.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever in the world you are. Yes, it's another episode of the Shine Out Loud Show, and it's me, Lillian Ogbogo. So, I have a woman that I have been wanting to interview forever. I'm talking about radio presenter, speaker, presenter's presenter, author, change agent, Lisa Bent. How you doing?
Hey girl, I'm really good. That was a nice little intro.
Oh, you deserve it and more because you wear many hats. And we're going to start talking about the many hats. And the first thing I want to know, and people want to know, what's a change agent when it's at home?
So for me, because it's my definition, a change agent just basically speaks to the fact that I'm also a qualified counsellor and a HR professional. Okay. So what I've done is I've merged those two professions together to speak to individuals and people in businesses to ensure that their employees can be the best managers they can be. And on a personal individual level, my job is to basically look into people and cover the things that are keeping them back so that they can be all that they are.
Okay. So I like this. And I like the fact that it's your definition and it's an amalgamation of some of the hats that you wear. But so let's actually start from the very beginning. What made you go into counseling as a degree?
You know, before the degree, I did a introduction into counseling because at the time I was working for Nature Works in Balderton Street, which is near Selfridges.
Right.
And I'd been working there as a receptionist, looked after 49 different practitioners. And then one day a practitioner called me into her office and said, look, I want to speak to you. I'm like, oh God, okay, what's up? She's like, I've just seen how you are with clients. And actually what I've noticed is that they come 20 minutes before their appointments to speak to you.
Oh,
yeah, you have something. So just try and do an introduction course into counselling, see if you like it. And if you like it, then just take it from there. So I actually fell into counselling. So that's how I went down that route. And so to be a counsellor, you have to do the introduction, then a higher professional diploma. And because I already had a degree, I decided just to do one more year as a top up to get my counselling degree.
Awesome. That's actually, phenomenal. And I love the fact that somebody else recognized and said, I can't leave you out there because you were doing this job already. So that's actually quite powerful. Mm-hmm. So you've done that. You've worked in HR. You create change, not just for businesses, but in individuals. What led to you becoming an author?
Well, I always knew I had a book in me. Mm-hmm. But everyone says that, right? Everyone has a book in them.
Yes, everyone has.
Yeah, but I didn't realize it was going to be a romance novel. So how that came about is I've always blogged. I've always shared little snippets of where I'm at on Facebook. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't until 2017 that I shared a dating post. And I noticed that a lot of the dating posts that I was sharing always got a lot of traction and a lot of likes, a lot of comments. But it wasn't until December 2017 where I spoke about this guy that I met outside TK Maxx. Mm-hmm. that I really knew I was onto something. And so at that point, I decided to begin writing my experiences because I had been single for a while. And I am the first one to tell you I had no game. I had to go back. I had to educate myself. And I had to really look at the gaps in my capability. Like as a HR professional, all I'm really doing is looking at people's gaps in capabilities to make them better managers, better people, better employees. But I had a gap in my capability. I had no game. And so over the years that I've been talking about my dating life, which I think is from 2009, people have read time and time again, guys, I saw a good looking guy and I smiled and then I just couldn't go over. I couldn't walk over. I couldn't approach. And then he went. I've said that for years. But at that point, in that December in 2017, I was like, you know what? Let me look back. I look back, he's still standing there, he's looking at me, and I just thought, you know what, take your shot, and the rest is history. I'm joking, it's not history, but yeah, I was amazed. Like, I got his number, and the compliments are flowing, and yeah, we ended up dating, and so that became the beginnings of a memoir.
Right.
But then when I started writing it, a competition came along. I entered the competition. I'm one of 20 writers that are part of a cohort called 20 in 2020, which means that a publishing agency called Jacaranda Publishing, they put out a call to find 20 new Black British writers to increase the diverse narratives of the Black British experience in the UK,
right?
Because we're lacking, and I'm lucky enough to be one of the 20, and so writing the book, in terms of now that I've got a publishing deal, I just took guidance, and they said, look, this is great, but let's stretch it. Let's turn it into a novel, because then you can embellish stories, you can stretch and play around with the themes, and you can make it more wholesome. And so that's what I did. So Mr. TK Maxx does appear in the book.
Ooh.
Yes, he does.
Well, I'm going to be going back over my kindergarten.
but the inspiration is from real life. But what happens in a story is very different from what happened in real life. And so I've embellished the story.
Okay. All right. So then I guess my question is Symona you?
No. Symona,
that would be my question. Is she?
No, she's not.
Or is she an amalgamation of variants of... In fact, let me rephrase that question. I'll come back to that question. What I would like to know is, in her journey, looking at Symona still single, and when she brings the stories to life, is actually thinking, does she not, will she ever find what she's looking for because her standards are too high? Or is it a case that it's not her standards that's the issue, it's just the people she's meeting?
I can't tell you the answer to that. You have to read the book. You have to read the book, because I'm giving it away, and so that is part of the journey. It's part of the journey that the readers travel along with her over a 3-year period of her life. So the journey is from age 37 to 40.
Okay. I actually have started reading the book, and I'm halfway through, and there are lots of things that I would love. And I'm like, yep, no spoiler alerts here, no spoilers. But there's some questions that we will kind of tap into but won't give a lot away. So before we go back into the book, because I want to talk about how you went from how you are HR, change agent, but you're also a radio presenter. What was the origins of you having a radio show? So
I'm thinking back. I keep looking up because I'm thinking. This is my thinking look.
Yes, part of the brain.
Yes. So I graduated with a first-class degree from Greenwich University in my counselling degree. And I began writing a blog called Deeper Than Twitter. And then I founded a kind of like a concept called Self-Central. Self-central means to own and accept who you are, to be all that you are. It's totally influenced from counseling. But what was different from Deeper Than Twitter, which was my blog, is that Deeper Than Twitter kind of intertwines my psychology knowledge with my love for understanding social issues and just general world issues. And so I use my psychology knowledge to give a greater understanding about what was happening in the world, and potentially at times, putting out there some solutions. But then I realized that all I was doing was writing mini essays. Like, part of my blog was like, guys, this is my new blog. Get a cup of tea, get some biscuits, and take the time to read it, because it was mini essays. And what I realized I was doing was really breaking it down, breaking it down for people to understand, in the hope that they would have the same way of thinking when they see things, in the future. But that's it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I just thought, no, I'm not doing this. And actually what happens is that it keeps me in a particular place of low energy, because I'm talking about real issues here. So I'm always at a particular low energy. But I thought, no, I actually want to talk about thriving. I want to talk about how you can be the best version of yourself. So I kind of transferred into Self Central.
Okay.
And I was invited on to Colourful Radio just to do news headlines.
Okay.
And met the station manager right there. And then I pitched and I said, are you looking for anyone? Because I've got a great idea for you. Did my little elevator pitch. And a month later, I had my own show. It was a Sunday show. It was called Self Central. And it was a personal development show that was all about tapping into individuals through my words. And if my words weren't going to get you, then I'm going to get you through my music, because the music was selected to the themes that I was talking about each week. Mm-hmm. And I call it music with meaning. So the type of music I'm playing is really neo soul. I'm trying to get you to your soul, try to nudge you into further self-inquiry. That has always been my aim. So although I wear different hats, so although, I'm a speaker, I'm a change agent, HR professional, qualified counselor, my job is literally in the job of people. What I do is to purposely nudge you into self-exploration, because nowhere else in society, apart from the counselling room, asks you to look at yourself. And for me, that is a major, major problem. Within society, it's a massive blame game. All you have to do is look at Parliament to see how they, find solutions. It's just a blame game. And so, who we are, one of my mottos is who we are is central to everything. I own everything, every action, every mistake, whatever, I own it. And so within that, there is permission to be flawed, and there's also permission to grow. And I'm just literally all for that. So my message has always been to invite people into further self-exploration, but through different mediums. So whether it's my writing, whether it's me being a HR professional, whether it's me being an author, it comes in different ways.
You know what? And anyone who reads the book, I think in the first few chapters will actually get that, because there's a lot of self-searching and self-ownership. And I've called it the brunch summit.
Yes.
Stop it all. The brunch summit. I've been to brunches. I've never had a brunch summit.
Yeah, I mean, that summit was serious. Symona was not playing. She's not playing.
That was a serious summit. The whole Ayala Vasant energy came out and all of that good stuff. I was like, oh, wow. But I think there were a couple of things that came out from that. And I'm going to pin that, because we're going to come to that, because that is actually quite the topics that came out just from that brunch summit. Actually, I think lends itself to a whole deeper conversation on its own. So we'll come into that. And so you have this radio career, you've been presenting, you've been behind the mic, you've stood on stages with some of the greats. And so looking at it and saying, okay, we're in 2020, there's an explosion of podcasts, and we now have people who have different mediums. We now have Black women, women of color, men of color, Black men telling their own stories. But do you think that we still need more women of color behind the mic in FM radio, in actual radio stations, being able to own that platform and tell their stories?
Yeah, we do. The simple answer is yes, but it's not even just women. I'm not really part of the movement that is very much just for women, because we need balance. Oh, yeah. So as much as I'm all for women to have self and do self-development, the same way swings for men. Like if we as people need to come together stronger, then it can't all keep going to women.
Yeah.
I know we live in a patriarchal society. I understand that. But men aren't on the same level as white men either. So Black men aren't on the same level. So there needs to be that love and that same drive that we give ourselves. Yeah, we have to. And so there does need to be more. But then in the same breath, there is an explosion of incredible podcasts, which means that Black women and Black men and any other ethnicity can really take ownership with what they want to say. They've got the voice, they can use it. And there are these amazing platforms and lots of different ways in order for them to do that. We don't need to wait for gatekeepers to say, oh, you're allowed in. We don't need to do that anymore. So if you've got an idea, just do it.
Exactly. And that's the ethos that this show was started on. It actually started over a conversation over dinner with friends. And they were talking about, I think we were at dinner and it was a whole conversation around, that conversation that starts with mainstream media should. And then, that big sigh that follows it that goes, they're not doing this. Or when they show Black women, it's always a slant. There's always a kind of a particular story they're trying to tell. You're always the feisty friend, and I'm like, but we have cell phones. We can curate our information that comes in. It's literally a studio in your hand. So why are we waiting for somebody else?
Exactly.
So and that I think when we start looking at ownership and telling our own stories, and I think when we link that back to the book, giving Symona her voice to tell her own story and that space to tell it not from anybody else's gaze but from her own, and I think there's something really powerful from a perspective of full self-reflection. And
exactly. No, and that is what all I wanted to do. So my only job writing this book was to give myself permission to write. That was it. I took away the pressure of, oh my God, will people understand it? Will people like it? Because I do go elsewhere with it. It's not your typical romance novel. But no, like I didn't think about that. I just thought, how do I want to use my voice? How do I want to use my voice with the knowledge I have? And what would I want to leave readers with? Again, my job has always been to gently nudge people into further self-exploration through different mediums. And so if someone comes back and says, oh my God, that this chapter resonates with me, or I'm going to look at things in a different way and I'm going to take some time out to really like look at, myself, then my job is done. Whether it's a bestseller or not is neither here nor there. My job is to positively impact people just by me showing up, giving myself permission and being the best version of myself that I can be.
Awesome. I actually like that. And so we're talking about you being a presenter and actually being on stage with some of our greats in the Black community. What was it like interviewing Lenny Henry?
Oh my God. Listen, the way I was sweating the day before. Yeah, no, he's incredible. So I interviewed Lenny Henry last year ahead of his book tour. Who Am I Again is the name of his book. Okay. And it was incredible. So I read his book in a weekend, devised the questions. I mean, it was difficult because we're talking about this man's whole career, which really began when he was 17, 18, all the way to now. So he's gone from an unknown comedian to winning a reality TV show to now being a Sir and a CBE and this just amazing, thespian. Yes. It's incredible. So to squash that in, all of that history in 90 minutes was very, very difficult. Like I think it was probably one of my hardest interviews I've ever done because I wanted to do justice to his journey and to his life and to his experience. And it meant just so much for me when he sent me an email afterwards just saying, you worked me hard. You asked really good questions. Yeah, it meant everything because
I can imagine.
Yeah, it meant everything because as a presenter, my job is to get the best out of the person. My job is not to talk too much. It literally is to make every single question that I'm asking meaningful so that there's enough in that question alone to make the interviewee literally just flow. Yes. That's it. That's the job. And so when he said that, it just meant the world. But he was incredible. It was a real experience. That interview took place at Lambeth Hall. It was part of BCA, and I was honoured to be asked to do that.
Okay, and I don't even think Lenny Henry, to interview him and be straight faced would have been.
Oh, come on. I was cackling. Look, the one thing you need to know about me is that I'm real. I have a donkey laugh. It's horrible. Like when I'm really laughing, it just I do all sorts of, I'm struggling to breathe. Like it's ridiculous. And yeah, it was a mess. But I didn't care. The man's funny.
He is. It'll be hard not to laugh. Okay, so we know Lenny Henry is one of your top interviews. Who, out of all of them, who or which one will have to have been your favorite?
It's really difficult. But I'm going to say when I was freezing my butt off outside Leicester Square, waiting for the cast of Dreamgirls when Dreamgirls came out. And the reason why it's one of my favorite and most memorable is because I was there's probably two of us, two black presenters out there on that cold red carpet and that really cold day. I was freezing, but there's probably about two of us. And I was at the end, and the end is where the door was to go into the cinema. So as usual, you've got the star, and then you've got the PR person, and the person one before me, I was like, yes, my time's coming. Jennifer is coming. I'm going to interview Jennifer Hudson. This is incredible. I love her. I absolutely love her. I loved her from American Idol. So now's my chance, right? Mm-hmm. I cannot tell you how my heart broke in that split second when the PR lady said, right, that's it. We've everyone's interviewed. We need to go in now.
Oh,
my heart broke. But then Ava DuVernay, yes, Ava DuVernay stepped up and said, no, we're not done yet. We've still got one more person to see. Hello, Lisa. That meant everything because already I was a minority. Mm-hmm. Already we know the industry has not been a level playing field. We know this. And so it took a black woman to recognize another black woman to do justice. I was the last person. Why would my one question be the question that held up the stars going in to watch the film? It's ridiculous. So that was before Ava DuVernay became the amazing filmmaker, director that she is now. Many people may not know, but before that, she was a publicist. And she used to do PR for a lot of stars. So that was before before she was a director. So that's why it's memorable.
I think that must have been really powerful because it made sure that she made sure that you were seen and you were noticed.
Exactly.
And I think
sorry.
No, please go ahead.
Yeah, and that it was the notice bit that I jumped on because there was another time I did the junket for Sunshine with Danny Boyle, Cillian Murphy, Ben Wong. Like it was brilliant, but before it was brilliant, it was also again heartbreaking because they started packing up, and I'm in the room waiting to be called to interview Danny Boyle. They started packing up, and so. But then when I walked in, Danny was lovely. He made everyone put the lights back on and he was like, no, okay, she's here. Sorry, take a seat. And, he broke the ice by saying that he loved my red bottom heels. They were not Louboutins, but I did not tell him they were from New Look. I wasn't going to tell him that. But it was a really good interview. But it has been tough. I would say my other favorite interview is, I'm cheating here. Sorry. You said one, but I'm cheating. There's another one.
Listen, God. Bring them. We got.
So Numa Perrier, I did Numa Perrier last year for her film Jezebel, which is incredible. That was at Picture House Cinema in can't remember, Piccadilly. That was amazing. What she has done by herself as an independent filmmaker is incredible. And so in that interview as well, she was just very, very generous. But then I've also loved Alexandra O'Neill. There's been lots, and I've loved all of them for different reasons. I won't bore you anymore. Actually, no, there's one more. Sorry.
Go ahead.
There's one more. Omarion. You can go back and look at that interview. I'm not going to give it away, but if you just look at Lisa Bent and Omarion, and there's a moment in this 30-minute interview where you can see he had me, and then he lost me, just because he used the word submit. But then how he breaks that word down, I swear to you, it showed me the importance of language. we could be saying the same thing, but have different associations with that word. And so that interview was the first interview I did under South Central banner. And Amarian was a gem. So it's still on YouTube. You can go and have a little look at that. It's great. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about when you watch it.
I will go over when I finish a Gone State. So you're also a host of events, and you've been the host of the Precious Awards.
Yes.
How did you become involved with Precious?
Oh, God, I don't actually remember, which is so bad because I've been there for so long. It's been years. I think I may have just gone to one event and met Feluke Akinlu's MBE. And I think, knowing me, I would have just said, look, I want to be involved. How can I help? And that's it. But I've been involved for a very long time. Precious is incredible. It was the first magazine platform ever released in Britain. She began this in 1999. And then since then has extended the platform to the Precious Awards, which is an award ceremony that celebrates women of colour in the business sector. And then every year, apart from this year, I host the Precious Lifestyle Awards, which is a lifestyle awards that recognises women of colour in like hair, makeup, podcasts, books, lifestyle in terms of fitness, hair products, entrepreneurs in that kind of realm. And it usually takes place at the Google HQ. It's amazing. We've had some amazing winners, from Dorothy Coombson to Candice Braithwaite to Kelechi Okafor. Like, it's an incredible space. And then up until recently, I've been doing Precious Nights. Been doing that maybe for the last 4 years. And Precious Nights is an event that takes place at the British Library, and it celebrates the women of colour who have won awards. Because normally, as you know, when you go to an award ceremony, you'll see who the nominations are, and you'll see who the winners are. But you'll never really hear their journey of how they started their business and the trials and tribulations to the point of where they are now successful. So Precious Nights is an intimate night where we basically interview on a panel 3 women, and we find out their journey. And it's so inspiring. I can leave work tired, and by the time I've gone to the British Library and interview these ladies, I am nourished all over again. It's fantastic.
I can imagine. So that's actually really good, because we need more of these platforms. We need more of these conversations. We need more of these panels where it's Black women, women of color, who are sat there telling their stories. And speaking of panels, you must have seen recently the Loose Women panel that caused a whole hoopla of it being the first Black women panel on TV. And I know we're like, oh, wow, it's the first time. How do we go from, it's the first time, to normalize? And what steps, as a change agent, do you think needs to happen now so this can be normal?
We just have to utilize the platforms that are out there already that aren't necessarily mainstream. We cannot afford to wait. We don't need to wait anymore. There are many platforms out there that can be utilized. But then in terms of HR, companies need to do more. There is no way that our TV screens should not represent society. Exactly. Society is so diverse and rich in talent, culture, sounds, foods, ideas. How can TV still look one way? It just doesn't make any sense. And so TV has to change, but it can only change if people understand why it needs to change. Now, if you're from the majority group who benefit from how everything is at the moment, then you wouldn't really necessarily want anything to change, would you? Unless you really, really understand what is really, really happening. And so it's a whole education piece. It shouldn't even be an education piece, but it is a whole education piece.
It is an education piece, and we're saying it shouldn't be an education piece, but I think there is that whole gap. There's a gap in, you just pointed out, where the majority don't see a problem, that, well, it's okay. They give us Ainsley Harriott a couple of times, and they give us Lenny Henry. They're 2 people, yay! And they don't see the problem. We do need to have that conversation. And I think for this year, the whole the Black Lives Matter movement, even Black History Month even feels different this time around, because the focus seems a whole lot different. I don't know if you'll agree with that.
I do agree, but let me start that again. Let me own it. From my perspective, we are here because of the death of George Floyd and COVID. So without COVID, I really believe that George Floyd would have just been viewed as another death, because we've seen this time and time again. George Floyd, unfortunately, is not new. He's not the only one. There have been many. There have been too many. But what COVID has done, or what COVID back then did, was not allow people to run away from what was actually happening in front of all of our faces. There was nowhere for people to go.
Yeah.
People were inside. And so even though you can still switch over, the conversations are still happening. So that was that, right? And then you had the Black Square. And then there was uproar. Thank God, thanks to, Black Twitter coming through again. And then added with that is cancel culture.
Yes.
Those combinations of all of those things have led us now to where we are at, where companies are being held accountable to do more than just show a black square. It's meaningless. And so all of these things helped put pressure on companies to do more, because there's companies that just did it, and then the employees are like, what are you talking about? There's only 3 of us, or where are your initiatives? This doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. And they got called out for that. So we are here now because of the pressure applied, because people and businesses are scared of cancel culture. At the end of the day, everything comes down to money. No one wants their money messed up. And cancel culture was about to do that. And so we are here because of that. And it's taken the death of one man for this to happen. It's disgraceful. This should never have happened.
You know what, Lisa? I cannot even. I can't put into words the way this is all played out. And when you talk about the lip service companies were paying during that time, and I won't name which fashion brand did this. They put out this ad, and then the hands of the person of color, or what they've designed as a black person. I'm like, I take it your designer has never seen a black person's hand.
Wow.
And it took one of your influencers to reach out to the company's management at 1 a.m. in the morning. And I remember seeing it on Twitter, and she put them out there on blast. I'm like, she put them out on blast at 1 a.m. in the morning. Black Twitter had taken it up before 11 a.m. the next morning. That company had an apology out before 12 p.m.
But again, it shouldn't be. And it's happened because there's no diverse talent in those places to say, actually, you can't do that. There is no, I was gonna say safety net. It's not a safety net, but there's no other diverse voice that can say, you need to consider X, Y, and Z if you do this. Mm-hmm. And that's why diversity in businesses is a necessity for the survival of every single company. And I don't get it. There are so many benefits, and all employees ever really think about is having the right talent and the people, the right skill set who help to make the right amount of money. But diversity also does all of those things, because you've got different people from different backgrounds, different perspectives. And there's so much research out there that proves that having diverse heads together gets you faster solutions, gets greater innovation and creativity. There's a wealth of stuff. But again, we shouldn't even need to have research that expresses why there is a benefit of having diversity. We live in a diverse society. Society needs to reflect the workplace. The workplace needs to reflect society. And the fact that that isn't really understood is mind-boggling to me.
I struggle because, like you said, the research is out there on pen and paper. On paper, it's saying it makes you money. When I even say do it from the bottom of your heart, it makes you money to have the diversity. But you still have those that, and you're like, well, okay, on your own head be it. But let's kind of step back, because I want to go back to the book and talking about the lead character Symona and the journey she goes on. And trying, and I still don't want to give anything away, but I have some questions.
Yeah, don't, Lillian.
I promise. But can we just talk about one aspect of her personality?
Oh yeah, go for it.
She seems very anxious with a lot of anxiety. What is the basis of her state of anxiety?
Her biological clock is ticking. My girl is 37. She's 37. She wants to find a man. She understands that to find the man, which is already quite difficult, involves spending time with a man to actually then hopefully work out that he is going to be your man. And then you've got to think and work out whether you're compatible. So now we're talking about 6 months. Okay, cool. But the biological clock is still ticking. So her anxiety comes from the place of being single for such a long time, going out, looking around her and thinking, where are the men? How is she going to find a man? Is it from God? Is it from dating apps? Is it from recommendations? Is it through speed dating? She doesn't know how it's going to come, but she's also in the same breath trying to ensure and remember that she has her own agency. So in this time, what can she do? Because she realizes just sitting down, hoping and praying isn't going to get her what she wants. She needs to be active towards her prayers as well. But she keeps coming up blocks. And so the anxiety comes from, just really worried about the time ticking. And again, where you're at in the book, that tells me where you're at in the book. But again, there's a journey. Her personality changes a little bit. Then there is growth within the 3 years. But initially, when you begin the book, you know that she's slap bang in reality. You are in her reality very, very quickly.
It made me anxious. I started reading the book like, Jesus. Like, I was going to call you and go, look, you know what? I'm going to send you the bill. I'm going to have to go and talk to a therapist right now. And it's your fault.
You know what? The reason why you're doing that is potentially because I've tapped into something, which is your own fears. Potentially. Not saying I did. Potentially. And so what I'm doing is almost scratching at the surface of what you already feel on a deeper level, but you may have been masking it, hiding it, avoiding it. I'm just reminding you as well through the character of Symona that you're not alone. You are not alone. There are other women round about this age, even maybe younger, even older, who are also having the same concerns. Like, it's a reality, unfortunately. And if you want kids, your biological clock is ticking. That's a fact. Men, listen, men, you lot can be having babies to goodness knows what age, but women, we are on a time limit. And so in the book as well, it's almost like a commentary of, we don't have time to waste, so don't waste my time. She's very clear. She's not coming into this dating arena as someone who is looking for a man to complete her, or looking for a man because she's still got that fairy tale ideal that the man will make her complete, like, oh, it's my better half. No, she is already whole. She's walking into this with a crown on her head, with her self-worth bar quite high, and she's not willing to compromise. She's waited too long to find a man, and just because her biological clock is ticking, she refuses to compromise in spite of that fact. And that, I feel, is a very different narrative to what I personally have seen in films and potentially in the American books that I've read. And, you know, the one thing that I want to be very clear about is this is not a black version of Bridget Jones. This woman is not silly or foolish or fumbly, or she's not. She loves her body. She loves herself. There are no insecurities in that regards. And I think as a black woman, that's really important to show in a story, because all I ever see is trauma, issues with image, and I didn't want to do that narrative. I wanted to literally give a more well-rounded, more together kind of person but one that is still human and therefore still has issues. But I wanted it more meaningful.
Okay. And you know, and it comes across, and she is very much human, and you see it, you feel it, you root for her, and at some point you're like, oh, for heaven's sakes, woman, I did. But at the same time, you were still rooting for her. So I think this is a book that anyone would want to read. And so my producer wants to take a Symona restaurant crawl in London. Where are some of the places that you mention in the books, in the different restaurants?
Oh, God, you know, you're really making me think. Wait, what did I even say?
So there was a place in Liverpool Street that's the Thai restaurant.
Oh my God, I remember. Wait, you're putting me on the spot here. Wait, Thai. Oh, yes. Okay. What do you want me to name it?
Yes.
If it's my secrets, Basaba.
Ah, that's a good one.
So good.
So maybe what we'll do is once more people have read it and it's out there, probably 2021 when we're allowed out again, would there be a restaurant crawl that we can all attend and follow her footsteps of food?
Well, I haven't thought about that, but I'm happy to do that. I didn't think about that. It's a good shout. Yeah, I mean, I really wanted to do a proper launch. I wanted people to come and eat and, you know, and do a Q&A and all of that stuff. But Boris decided to reduce the numbers from 30 to 6. And I was like, I can't, there's no point. There is no point. So I don't know what it's going to look like moving forward. I definitely still, you know, I'm a very big believer in celebrating your wins in the realest time possible. And I have done that, but it does. I just need that people. I need, look, you guys, here's the book. Let me sign it. Ask me a question about it. How are you feeling about it? I want to do all of that. Again, I'm a people person. So that part of it is really important for me. But yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
I'll let you arrange it. Okay.
Oh, I see what you did there. To this. Okay. So let's go back to the brunch, the summit brunch.
The single summit.
That was not just brunch, that was a whole intervention.
That was.
You know, and one of the characters, Tasha, she asked and posed some very important questions. And I actually fell in love with Tasha instantly because there's a yumminess about her. And one of the questions that she put, and she goes, that having for us to start with our version of what our happy ending looks like. Do you think that we're spending too much time on the list and not actually focusing on what that version, our version of happy endings look like? Not our mothers, our sisters, our brothers, or anybody else's, but ours. Do you think that we are so focused on that very narrow list, or should we be the happy ending?
I do. First thing I want to say, like, tears came to my eyes when you mentioned that you really liked Tasha, because Tasha is sorry, gonna get teary. Tasha is one of my friends that passed away. And I used the essence of her to create that character. And it just so happens that today's her birthday as well.
Oh,
so, getting hot. So you saying that is really touching. So Tasha's amazing. Tasha, real life Tasha, who's passed, is amazing. She's incredible. And I felt in order to honor her, I wanted to add her essence in the book. So when you read Tasha, it's the essence of my Tasha. And sorry.
That's fine. Do you want us to take a moment?
No, it's fine. And so it's the essence of Tasha, who's amazing. She's a radiant being of light, and I love her dearly, and I'll always love her. And that's why she's mentioned in a book. So to say that means a lot to me, because it is her essence. And she always, for me, came up with amazing questions, and I really valued her, and I do dearly miss her. So that's that. So happy endings. yeah, I feel like personally, and from what I can see, when we talk about romance, we talk about the man coming into our lives, finding the man, and then we've got our happy ending because the man has arrived. But then within the happy ending, there's expectations of how he needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole long list. And so in the book, I challenge that because, again, who we are is central to everything. What's your happy ending? We cannot afford to put all our happiness and hope in a man or in another person. It shouldn't be like that. It's too much pressure. And that's not how it's meant to be. No one else is here on this earth to make you happy. That is no one's duty. No, that's no one's duty.
Well, your own.
Yeah, it's your own. And I'm a firm believer in that. And so in that section of the book, I wanted just to challenge that notion of happy endings and fairy tale endings and what does that look like? Because as I say in the book, so much of our ideas about romance has come from fairy tale. I mean, it has really come from fairy tale, or it's come from just the movies. Yeah. And so I really wanted to really challenge that, because we're not living romance from a place of realism, and I really wanted to ground that. And so that's why the book kind of feels how it looks. I was talking to Joy Francis from Words of Colour 2 weeks ago, and she's like, I began reading the book, and it's a romance novel, right? And then she's like, but no, it's so much more than that, because I was like, this isn't your usual romance format. And I was like, well, yeah, I'm selling you something different. Just embrace it. Sorry.
You know what? I think that is basically the best line ever, because it's not, and there shouldn't be a formula to romance. No. It should be individual for each of us. And one of the things that one of the other characters, now her name escapes me, the Nigerian lawyer,
Adiza,
when she starts talking about that the man has to make the first move, and there's still this notion of, if the man has to make the first move, and if we as women make that first move, we are too fast, right. And we are this, we are that. But do you think that in 2020, in the time that we're living, that we as women have to be proactive? We have to start the same proactivity we apply to our jobs, to getting our bag. We have to apply the same proactivity to our love life, and be damned whoever wants to say whatever out of the side of their necks.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Again, it's about ownership. It's about responsibility. We have to own it. You said it all. I agree with you 100%. And so in the character of Symona, in the protagonist of Symona, that is what we see. You see her making that journey, making that kind of connection that, there's a line, I can't remember how it goes exactly, but she says, hope is a waiting game. And for me to just wait, I'm putting all my hope in the hands of a man. No, no, let me up my game. Let me level up. Let me get my flirt. Let me learn let me see what's in my flirting toolbox. Mm-hmm. And let me get more confident in being able to approach, and therefore also dealing with rejection. I believe that when you have approached a man and been rejected, you will never ever disrespect a man who had the courage to approach you ever again. It doesn't matter whether you fancy him or not. I'm a firm believer in just respecting people. Yeah, you can be firm in your rejection, but you can also be kind in your rejection. Oh, yeah. And so I think if more women were to take the challenge of approaching a man and have that fear of rejection, the way they would let a man down moving forward would be very, very different. Because, we talk about women being scarred. The man cheated, I'm scarred, I'm projecting on my new relationship, and da-da-la-la-la. Men are scarred too. Oh, and yeah. Again, we don't have this conversation. We want this amazing man, but guess what? That same amazing man could be scarred. We're human.
Yeah, he could be coming damaged with his own stuff. And you know what? that's going to lead on to another question, but I'm going to just pin that over there very quickly because I have another question to ask before that. Because one of the other things that come to play, especially for us as Black women, and let's get very real with this, is let's talk about the strong Black woman. That strong Black woman stereotype. How is she getting in the way of our happily ever after?
Is this Symona or is this in general?
In general. This is not just for Symona. This is just in general and the reason why I'm asking is because you would have recognized her at some point in your own personal journey.
Yeah, so the strong Black woman is definitely a hindrance to love because it hardens us. No one wants hard love. I don't even want hard love. I don't want hard love. I don't want struggle love. I don't want any kind of dysfunctional. Yeah, I don't want it. And so when you are that strong Black woman where you feel like you have to do everything, hold everything, keep it all together, be okay for everyone, it means that you are walking around with a mask on and with barriers up. And that kind of stance is a barrier to love. It means that you're likely to have people who think you're a certain way when you're not. I mean, I've had that. I've definitely understood that because your past experiences that have hurt you will mean that you do put the guards back up again until you're able to heal, move through it, let it go, and then slowly the trust builds up again with a new person, and you put the boundaries back, not boundaries, but you put the guard back down again. But I think what's important to remember is experiences are experiences. No one goes through life unhurt, unscathed. It's just not the human condition. And so to look at each experience as its own containment of an experience, giving yourself the time to look at that, to then work out how you're coming across. And sometimes, when you're in it, you don't even know how you're coming across, which is why having sisterhood or having friends who can tell you the truth is so, so important. And that in itself is your healing. But again, that also takes self-awareness. It takes the willingness to have a deeper inquiry elsewhere. And it also takes courage in order to be able to listen. If you can't do those, if you can't have those things or do those things, you're not ever going to move forward because no one can tell you nothing. And so it doesn't help anyone, doesn't help yourself in a long term.
And that's so true. And so I guess the self-inquiry, giving room for one to learn, be aware that yes, and actually being willing to ask for help, to say, I am a little banged up and I need the help.
Exactly. I mean, look, I'm always going to be an advocate for therapy. Always. I don't practice it now, but my writing, my everything is from a foundation of counselling. I'll always do that. So I feel like a mother who's trying to get their kids to eat broccoli, so then just mashes it up, puts potato on it, grates cheese, and then serves it. That's what I feel like. Because the reality really is, Lillian, that if I was here serving up, I don't know, hair products or lipstick, my workshops would be sold out all the time. In the past, my workshops weren't, because no one actually wants to look at themselves.
No.
So my intention wasn't to ever write a romance novel, which is kind of really self-help or can also be in a self-help section. That was never my intention. I just began to write. But now that it's that kind of book, I'm really, really happy with it, because I unfortunately don't feel I have the creative license to just write more fantasy. I'm so sorry, but I'm for the movement of people. I'm for the thriving, the self-actualization of people, of our people, of people who look like me, because we've spent centuries being suppressed and pushed down. And half of us don't even know how that actually shows up in our day-to-day life. And so if I can sell hope through romance, but also point the finger of inquiry back to yourself so that you can have a greater self-awareness of yourself and make better decisions, then so be it. I couldn't just serve a fantasy. There's no way I could do that. It's not authentic to me.
Okay. And I think you've done it quite well. And, you know, we keep talking about the characters without wanting to give anything away. But, you know, and I keep referring to the summit because I think that's the only part I can actually talk about. And Adesa at the summit made a decision, and she went online. And, you know, we are in that era of swipe left, swipe right, swipe up, swipe down, you know, everything is Insta. Let's slide into the DMs. Can love be found through swipes, or do we need to start thinking about a different approach?
I think love can be found anywhere. I know quite a few people who've found love through dating online. It didn't work for me, but that means it can't work for anyone else. I think, again, just look at all avenues. Don't shut yourself off from any avenue. But if you really don't like it, don't force yourself. Don't do it. If you don't like it, don't do it. It will come another way. I don't think love can only come through on an app, because now we're in 2020 and that's what people are doing. Like, your probability is probably maybe enhanced because right now in COVID times, no one's going anywhere. And probably I would say more people are online, and it's actually an online supermarket. You know, you can search for what you want. Yeah. But it's also addictive. And potentially it can also make you lose sight of what you really want, because the main focus is on the visual.
Yes, you start getting distracted by the shirtless pictures. And you're like, do you not own a shirt in your house? Would you like me to raise funds? What funny. Put some clothes on.
I never thought, I mean, I love a ripped body, but in terms of seeing that on dating profiles, I never found that appealing. But again, they're very quickly showing you what they're about.
Yeah, I mean,
they want intimacy.
No, that's a nice coating, but we'll leave that there. Now, we know you've said it from the very beginning. The book actually speaks to it. Your work is about counseling. Your lead character goes through therapy on her own, and, you know, she in her self-discovery. And with your background, do you feel that Black couples need to start exploring counseling more? Not because they're in crisis, but the same way couples are now going to the gym together, having lifestyle things together, do we need to incorporate counseling into our, not almost date night, but into what we do to grow our relationship in our community?
I mean, counseling is never a bad thing, but I think if you, as a couple, have a healthy relationship, you can discuss, you can talk, you can have ideas about where you want to go, what you want to do, then I don't think counselling is really needed for you, because you're able to talk to each other and come to some sort of resolution. If you're in a dysfunctional relationship where one person doesn't feel heard or one feels silenced, then I would say, yeah, definitely go. I think, having read a lot of bell hooks recently, I do think, I don't want to generalise by saying by nature, because that's really tough to actually say that, but I do think Black people coming together comes with certain issues just due to our historical context. Mm-hmm. Bell hooks, for example, talks about Black bonds and how the Black bond needs to be strengthened. And I'd actually agree with her. I feel like the foundation of what we're working from isn't always from a healthy foundation, because we all have stories of separation, trauma, some sort of psychological impact from something due to just how society is today. And so when you break that down, even just to go slightly left for a moment, even with all of what's happened with Black Lives Matter and George Floyd, you know, Black men are told, not even just Black men, but men are generally told not to cry. It's becoming more of an open conversation now where, you know, we can see that based on the suicidal rates, how important it is for men to reduce that stigma of not crying in order to release emotions, right? So if you just look at the context of the fact that we're all in, George Floyd has happened, BLM protests have happened, you've got the man at home potentially not being able to express how he feels about what he's seen on the TV. He feels he can't cry, so he keeps it in. In turn, there's going to be some sort of impact or ricochet to that, because what you don't let out, manifests and whatever in other ways. Then you've got the woman who's like, babe, what's wrong? Something's wrong. Tell me what's wrong. And then already just in that little scenario, there is an issue. So for me, what makes a healthy relationship is that both parties have a sense of emotional intelligence. They have a good sense of their own self-awareness, so that when they're in a funk, they can at least just say, babe, I'm having a rough day, just so you know. That line is so important, and it would probably stop a lot of arguments that occur. So going back to your original question, do Black people need to go into therapy? Probably, the answer is probably yes, but I'm also an advocate for individual first before togetherness. Because no one came into this world as a together. Everyone is an individual, and you come together. So go to your separate ways, have your individual counselling, and then when you want to work on your relationship, then maybe go to couple counselling. I'm big on that.
Okay. All right. Great. So, you know what, Lisa, I could talk to you for hours now. But I'm mindful of time. I have a couple more questions about the book, and I know, I just want to dive in, but I can't, because guys, I don't want to spoil it for you, and Lisa will come for me. So the last question I'm going to ask about the book is actually, second to the last, is the book cover. What is the story with the book cover? So
the artist is called Yuzo Njoku, and Symona is on my wall. She's just there behind me. So I did a mood board of what I wanted the book cover to look like, and the Jacaranda team used that to find the most, I guess, similar thing. And they found this. And so I was just ecstatic. I went back straight away and went, yes, this is perfect. They did their job. And then a package arrived for me, and I was like, okay, what's this? It was on my birthday week. And I was like, what's this? Opened it up, and it was this image. My boyfriend had bought the image from the artist directly. It wasn't on sale, because he felt that this would be the cover, so much so that he wanted me to have it before it got turned into a book.
Oh,
right. He's incredible. And so Symona has been on my wall for a good 4 months before the book came out. So I've been seeing her every day, and I just love her. And if you haven't seen the book cover, guys, this is what the book cover looks like. And so the reason why she is faceless is because I didn't want to make her an actual image of someone. I wanted to leave her faceless because any one of us could be Symona. Mm-hmm. And so rather than doing features and eyes and nose and no, I just wanted to say that any one of us could be Symona, because these themes that are in this book isn't just for Symona. These are the mid-30 something conversations, potentially. Again, I'm not generalizing. I'm just saying that back then when I was a mid-30 something, those are the themes that came up for me. And this book is giving a voice to the 30-something Black woman. That doesn't mean that a white woman or Asian woman can't read it. Of course they can. But what I'm very clear on from the gate, because I've put a Black woman on the cover of the book, is that this is from the perspective of a Black woman, being single from a Black perspective. That's what I'm doing. And it's needed because these narratives aren't really out there. There's not a plethora of these, these narratives. And so I thought it was really important. But I love Symona. I think the image is great. I literally love her so much. And just the books arriving and me opening it up and holding it for the first time was really something. She's great. Blood, sweat and tears have gone into this book. Like, please know, everything you are reading is there by design. Like, I really thought about it. And if something resonates with you, it resonates for a reason. Please write it down and look at it when you're ready to look at it. Do not avoid. This book is not about avoidance. It's not about, oh, let me just read it and finish it in a night and then not really taking what has been said. It's not that type of book. One, because when you read that fast, you're not really taking it in. Two, if you read it too fast and want more, I can't give you more. Mate, I haven't started the next one yet. You're going to have to wait. And three, again, as I said, it's everything in that book is there for a reason. And I wouldn't want you just to rush through it and not receive what I'm trying to give you, because there are some juicy bits and self-awareness bits in there that is really important.
There's some juicy bits, guys. There.
I can't write a romance novel without juicy bits. But again, let me just talk on that if you don't mind.
Of course.
So, romance novels, what I didn't want to do is create a romance novel that talks in a fashion of, and he thrusts himself into her and ripped off her clothes and da-da-da-da. I didn't want to do that because Black bodies are often either objectified or brutalized, or I just didn't want that image. I didn't want that. I wanted the sensual, the loving, the sexiness. I wanted to bring that to the forefront and not that hungry, insatiable kind of wanting of sex or a sex act. I didn't want that, so I didn't put that in the book.
It's not a wham bam thank you ma'am scenario. It is sensual. It is desirable. There are scenes in it that you're like,
yeah,
take a couple of notes. So I think it's the book in itself is very, very deliberate. You can tell it's written with a deliberate purpose. So I'm going through it. And I'll let you know what my final thoughts are when I finish. I'll share them with you.
Brilliant. Please do.
So look, girl, we could sit and talk. So I've come to that part of the show where we want to do our So Loud moment of the week, which is basically where you get to celebrate person, thing, whatever, give it a big shout out. So what's your So Loud moment of the week?
Oh, so is it a person? Is it me?
It can be yourself. It could be somebody else. It could just be simply celebrating the book itself. It can, whatever you wish to celebrate.
Okay, so I celebrate. Let me start again. This is hard. I celebrate myself for giving myself the permission to create this book and this type of book. I celebrate my partner, who is incredible, who I woke up when I was writing the book. I woke up at silly o'clock numerous times with new ideas. I was like, babe, I've just thought of a twist. Babe, what do you think of, like, he's been there. He really has been there. And he's been incredible. I also celebrate Uzo Njoku, who is the illustrator of the book cover, who's incredible. And lastly, because it is Tasha's birthday, I celebrate Tasha, who isn't with us, but she's in the book. So she lives on. Mm-hmm. And yeah, she lives on.
That is a lot to celebrate, and actually quite beautiful celebrations. We should celebrate the incredible partners in our lives. So yes, celebrate him, because definitely he's a keeper. Right. And your beautiful friend, her energy is felt in that book, and you could tell that was love about her. So thank you for celebrating that and sharing that with us. So you're an author, you have your book out. Is there, when you look around, is there any book you wish you have written before now? If you look at all the books on the shelf.
That I wish I'd written? Yes. Like someone else's book? I can't do that. No. I think I admire the authors I admire, but I don't wish to be anyone but me with my voice. And I wouldn't want to do a disservice to those women who have written those books. That's number one. Number two, I think it's really important to say that on the surface of things, we can congratulate so many amazing people, but we don't know their stories. And as a result, I wouldn't want to wish for something that I don't know the true depths of. Does that make sense? So You know, I think in terms of how we are in society, we really celebrate celebrities. We really, really do. But you just don't know everything. It's a glimpse. The lights are on, the cameras are clicking, the Instagram selfie looks great, but you don't know what's going on behind doors. So I don't ever wish to be anyone else but apart from myself. But I do acknowledge the writers such as Bell Hooks, such as Ian Levanson, such as J. California Cooper. I think they're probably my favourites. But I don't wish to be anyone. I don't ever wish to have written a book, even though there are so many amazing books out there. I don't wish it.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing that, Lisa. And we always talk about self-care, and we've had that in other conversations outside of this space. What are your current self-care practices that you have right now that is helping you get through this interesting times that we are in right now?
So this is my morning. Wake up, morning pages, gratitude journal, 1 day journal, 10-minute meditation, put on my running gear, run around the park, do a 5K, come back, put my feet up, start my day. That has got me through COVID in lockdown with my whole sanity in check. My whole sanity in check alongside a really harsh book deadline. Doing that has kept me sane. And I don't even like running like that. I don't. 5K, what am I doing? It's cold now as well. So I'm going to have to change up that routine because I don't do cold. But yeah, that routine, that discipline, and it's not everyday running. It was probably guaranteed 3 days a week. But that has definitely kept me going.
And that's powerful. I love the fact that it's, like you said, it's a routine. It's helped you. It's held you. And it's for you. What would you recommend for someone who wants to start a self-care practice? Something easy that they don't have to stretch too hard to do.
You know what? Start with the morning pages. All it is just a blank exercise book. And you literally just, as soon as you wake up, you don't reach for the phone. Okay. I'm going to rewind. Do not take the phone in the bedroom with you. That's a no-go. Because when you can't sleep, what do? You reach the phone and then the light screen comes on and your brain's getting activated all over again. And just sleep is definitely disrupted now. So the phone is outside the room or it's downstairs in the front room. That's a given. No phones in the bedroom. And then I would say when you wake up, don't even talk to anyone. Don't even talk to your partner. Literally just roll over, get an exercise book and literally just write 3 pages of whatever comes to your mind. It's a mind dump. And what you find over time is that your anxieties get pulled out of your brain and onto the paper. And as you keep doing it, this is what I found. When you keep doing it, that is where my ideas come. So I'm just writing. I'm saying, oh, yesterday I went to da-da-da, da-da-da, and then an idea will come. And by the time I'm finished the 3 pages, there's a new idea about something that I wasn't thinking about it, but that idea has come and it actually joins up with something that I was actually working on. So that works really well for me. If you want to really get more detail about that, there's more of a detailed technicality to that. And that is within a book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. If you're creative, that is even more in depth and it really helps you to create a creative project, but through that method.
Okay. And so that's Julia Cameron, The Artist's Way. Guys, get it. It's a great book. I think I actually have it in my reading list as well. So, Lisa, love having you. Last question.
You've been saying last question for how long now, Lillian?
Woman, I grew up on...
Do you know how badly I need a drink?
Oh, take a drink. Then you have your last.
It looks bad on camera. Look what you do.
All right. Final last question. I promise you ever last question.
Go on.
Okay.
Lies.
How is your flirting game with a headscarf on?
Well, my partner wakes up with me every morning and says, "Hey, beautiful."
Oh.
So I got it going on.
Love it. Thank you so much for being on the show. It's been a blast. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
I don't want to say last question, but how can people get the book?
So you can go to Jacaranda website. They're my publishers. You can go to Amazon, Foyles, Waterstones. Yeah. So they're all online. And I think from next week, you can go into the shops and buy it. What else? It's available on Kindle, which you can get on Amazon, and Audible is coming soon. So follow me on Instagram. I am Lisa Ben to keep up to date with when that is dropping in. It will be in November. I think the second week of November. But if you follow me, I can give you exact dates.
Okay. So guys, you've heard it here. You can get it everywhere, and it's coming to Audible soon. So don't forget to get a copy. And when you do, reach out to Lisa on Insta, Twitter. She's on social media. I believe you're also on LinkedIn.
I am.
Connecting with her. Tell her, give her some feedback. Tell her what you love about the book, and just connecting and discover more about this amazing woman. Oh. So you're welcome. You know what to do. It's a wrap. Go and connect in, like the show, share the show, ask folks to listen, but more importantly, go get the book. And it's a wrap. Talk to y'all later. Bye.
You've been listening to the Shine Out Loud show. If you want to connect with us or let us know what you thought of today's show, be sure to follow us on Twitter at Shine Out Show.